Data from the Democratic research firm Target Smart, voters ages 18 to 29 have cast 4 million more early votes than at this point in 2016. So who are they supporting and why? Let's bring in our panel of young voters. We have Leo Burnaby, a senior at Fordham University, Alyssa Rinelli, she is a campus reform correspondent and senior at University of Minnesota, and Elsa Barron, a senior at the University of Notre Dame. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, Alyssa, I'll start with you. Who are you voting for and why?
I'm voting for President Donald Trump this coming election because I believe in the future of America, and I firmly believe in the founding principles and ideologies, free markets and free speech. What I see is the Democrats running a campaign that is rooted in socialism, things like free education and free health care, which first off is not free, and I think is the very destruction of America. I'm voting to preserve that.
All right, Elsa, first of all, congratulations with Amy Coney Barrett from your university, Notre Dame. I'm sure campus was excited about that. Who are you voting for and why?
Yeah, this election season, I'm voting for Joe Biden. And that vote is largely informed by my faith values as an evangelical Christian. I take the call to care for the least of these very seriously. And I think in this election, that means welcoming immigrants at the border, standing up for justice for Black and Indigenous lives, fighting military occupation on foreign lands and mass incarceration on our own, and also caring deeply about deadly diseases and the larger issue of climate change that not only threatens our global ecosystem, but also our families and communities. So while many evangelical voters are selecting abortion as their primary issue, I think a more holistic perspective of what it means to be pro-life is leading me to vote strongly for Joe Biden because of his care for human life and human dignity in all walks of life and in all vulnerable communities.
Leo, how about you?
Yes, I will be voting for the president in this upcoming election. So in 1965, when William Buckley ran for the mayor of New York City, he popularized this phrase, "Don't immanentize the eschaton." And for those unfamiliar with that, essentially what he's saying is that it's impossible and politicians should not try to bring about a heaven on earth. And I believe that in this current day, we have a Democratic Party that believes that that's fundamentally possible. And through federal initiatives and federal programs, they believe that they can accomplish it. Despite his faults and despite what you might think of him, President Trump and the Republican Party know that we can't make this utopian exaggeration of the powers of the federal government. And to really recover to our levels of pre-pandemic strength, we need to be invigorating individuals and businesses and getting the government off of their backs to recover.
Alyssa, why do you think the numbers are up as far as young voters going to the polls already?
I think that many young voters have seen a lot of recent events. I'll point to the George Floyd protests, for example, that hit especially close to home at the University of Minnesota up in Minneapolis, and seeing the destruction of their communities and the lack of care for their safety. Leadership Institute's campus reform reported on this, but the University of Minnesota saw an incredible spike in crime on and near campus, violent crimes that affected students. And the university did not do anything in terms of bringing campus police back. I think it's important to ask ourselves, which party really cares about our communities, our safety, and our future? And to me, it's the Republican Party and President Donald Trump.
So, Leo, the numbers are up not because of COVID amongst college kids or the younger generation. And the older generation, a lot of them don't want to go to the polls because they're worried about that. They're staying at home. Do you think that's the case for the younger generation?
I think a lot of the younger generation will mail in their ballot, being largely a Democratic voting bloc and being fearful of COVID themselves. I think a lot of them will vote absentee. But yet again, I live in New York City here. I see a lot of young people at the polls. The lines are very long. Anyone who's here knows. So I think a lot of young people will also show up on Election Day and vote.
Yeah, also, your response was interesting because most young people, if you look at the stats, pretty liberal. But then if you look at evangelicals, most of them are voting for Trump. Are you getting some blowback on campus from the evangelicals?
Well, to be honest, at Fordham University,
I'm sorry.
it's a Catholic
That was for
university.
Elsa, sorry. I'm so
right.
sorry, we're almost out of time, but I want to give everyone a fair shot. Elsa?
Hi, yeah. I think that's a really legitimate thing to consider, but I think there's a large shift in evangelical voting patterns. For example, the Evangelical Environmental Network has got over 2 million evangelical voters to sign on that they care about clean energy. So on some of these issues, evangelical thought is shifting, and as they consider more and more issues, I think there's going to be a deeper variety in the way that evangelicals vote, especially young evangelicals who are particularly concerned about issues like social justice and climate action.
Okay, just one word answer. Who do you think will win?
I think Joe Biden will win this election.
Leo?
I think the president is going to win.
And Alyssa?
I also think the president is going to win.
All right. Well, all of y'all are winners for going to the polls and for being active in politics at such a young age. Congratulations. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Coming up, senators calling out Twitter's double standard on